And this was like, are you still on Iraq? What is Iraq doing? Like, is Iraq involved in any way? Just drop that in there, bro. He just dropped Iraq in the conversation, demonstrating his position is just like, so what's up? Are you with the, are you with the sand people or what? Like, who are you with? Are you with the civilization or the sand people? Usual to Israel. I don't know, because like I said, I've only learned from mainstream media. I've only watched mainstream media, so I'm like a little confused. I'm a little confused right now as to why the tone and the coverage is like so dramatically different, because for the past 12 months, that was awesome, right? Like, it was sick. Israel was so mighty and so good at what it does. Israel also literally has an Iron Dome, okay? Israel currently has the might of the American military, Jordanian coverage, American coverage, Saudi coverage. They got literally regional partners trying to defend Israel to the best of their ability, and the Iron Dome is getting overwhelmed. Okay, let's see what Al Jazeera is saying.
Sayyid Ali Khamenei, who has the control over the all armed forces, and he has the right to declare war on any other country.
I will warn all of you, don't get callous. Do not think you can post like an Israel defender, okay? You cannot. I'm letting you know right now, you will literally go to prison, okay? Your life, they will end your life. You will go to jail potentially for supporting terrorism. It don't work that way. Do not Fed post. Do not Fed post in the chat. I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know right now. A lot of you did this. You did this on October 7th too, and you got, okay? You will never, you will have to sit there and eat the callous indifference and the cackling hyenas over on the side of defending Israel brigade every damn day as they point to like children in body bags, children in trash bags, and say they deserve it. And if you were to ever say anything, even marginally close to that, if you were to ever even celebrate it, you will get branded a terrorist. I'm letting you know. I'm letting you know right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? Having said that, however, the hypocrisy is a little bit alarming. I mean, it's thick. It's thick. I'm experiencing things that I didn't think I would. I didn't think I'd be seeing. Coverage that I didn't think I'd be watching.
Starting a ground operation, and then this hit today is changed completely the course of event, but it's also spoiling Benjamin Netanyahu, who presented himself as the future leader of the Middle East, who's going to punish anyone that attacks Israel.
Elijah, you said Iran was, quote, escalating to de-escalate, which is, it's kind of a strange quote, but it's one we've heard several times in the last few days. And really, the first time we heard it was from Israel, that's what they were trying to do in Lebanon against Hezbollah. The idea of escalate to de-escalate is essentially show your military muscle, show that you're stronger in order to deter your enemy and prevent a bigger war. If everybody's doing the same thing and is adopting the same logic, where's this taking us?
Well, it's all in the hand of Benjamin Netanyahu. He is the one who's dictating the tempo. He's the one who's going to war on Lebanon. He's the one who started an all-out war on the Gaza against the civilians, not only Hamas, and then turned against Lebanon, hit Hodeidah, and then went to Iran and assassinated Ismail Haniyeh there. He bombed the Iranian consulate in Damascus. He is the one who is escalating for his personal reason to remain in power. And because he's feeling all this victory, he doesn't feel concerned about stopping the war. On the contrary, he wants to continue. And this is why Iran is saying, I'm going to come in.
Footage of missiles hitting an airbase, the Nevatim airbase in the Negev. Bro, that's crazy, okay? Now, look, they got bunkers, okay? Iran does not have the same munitions that Israel has. Iran is not flying F-15s over targets and directly striking them. Their capabilities are diminished in comparison to what Israel can do to a defenseless area that it occupies, such as the Gaza Strip, or a defenseless country with a paramilitary that is all that remains to defend them, like Lebanon. Okay, Lebanon does not have any anti-air systems in general. That is by design. It's so that Israel can fly over it and destroy it when they want to. Okay, and I need you to understand. I need you to understand something. Okay, this entire situation, and I want everyone to remember this. This entire situation could have been avoided since day one. It could have been avoided from the jump. All it would have required was demanding that Joe Biden do the elder statesman thing, which is reign in Israel. People in his corner told him to do that. People literally told him over and over again, hey, dog, you know how Israel gets, bro? Please tell him to dial it the back. He was like, nope. Wow, how about it? Oh, look alive, Jack. I love Israel. I'm a Zionist. Israel can kill as many babies as it wants, Jack. Look alive. Here's the facts. I'm a Zionist. Okay? Rein it in. Rein it in. I've said it a million fucking times. I said it a million times over the course of the past 12 months. I was like, rein it in. Rein Israel in. Please, rein Israel in. I even said, listen, if you're a bloodless, monstrous, sociopathic piece of, but you still care about at least like retaining power, at least if you care about the Democratic Party winning the election, don't leave Netanyahu with a fat arsenal of weapons and a willingness to do the bidding of Donald Trump, because he's in the tank for Donald Trump. He's going to go to war with Lebanon. He's going to invade Lebanon. Everyone's like, Hasan, you're being ridiculous. Hasan, you're being crazy. Where are we now? Where are we now? I said it for months. Am I prophetic? No, I'm a dumbass, okay? I'm a stupid idiot who sits around in front of a computer all goddamn day. I just know a little bit about the way Israel behaves. That's it. I've just done a little bit of reading. That's it, like a minor amount. If you are even remotely interested in the history of the region, you arrive at this conclusion on your own. If you only get your from, I don't know, random YouTubers who are dick riding Israel into oblivion, or if you're only getting your news from MSNBC, CNN, Western media without ever like applying a little bit of media literacy or applying a little bit of critical thinking, you're like, oh, how did this happen? Israel's the victim once again. It's crazy. Dude, they've been doing this. They've been doing this like for 76 years. Of course, a lot of the regional actors have basically designed their entire existence around maintaining a defensive posture, maintaining a deterrent strategy, and developing an arsenal specifically to combat this kind of thing that Israel does on a regular basis. And since October 7, Israel's been doing infinitely worse that Tel Aviv is receiving currently every goddamn day. Every goddamn day. Every day, dude. So if you are now going, how could this have happened? How is this going? How could this have ever happened? Who would have foreseen this? Like, I've been telling you that this was gonna happen. Oh, I mean, I'm sorry. This isn't normal. Every single one of these rockets is meant to kill. Yeah, no, dude. That's what rockets do, dumbass. That's what your rockets do to the Palestinians. Like, get the f out of here. What are we doing? Never seen the Iron Dome like this. Iran built different. I've never seen a total failure of Israeli interceptors like this, completely ineffective against Iranian missiles to the point of comedy. It is insane, brother. Of course. What the fuck were they thinking? What were they thinking? Also, this is the most Israel thing to do, okay? There is nothing more Israel to be like, oh, we're getting bombed in a way that we never have. What to do? Oh, it's time to post like a goddamn teenager. Dude, what are you doing? This is the national account of the state, okay, of an apartheid state that is currently conducting a genocide, okay? And they're posting like an anxiety-ridden teenager, like, this isn't normal. What are you doing, bro? Stop normalizing this problematic behaviors of missiles, a threat. Is this the start of World War III? I don't think so, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay? I'll be honest, it is unique to Iran to do this. Okay? Like, it was already unceremonious and out of pocket for Iran to even retaliate against Israel at all, but that was a managed retaliation. Okay? That was a managed retaliation. That was genuinely a previously communicated retaliation, and they struck like one military base overall. They didn't deploy. They told what they were going to do ahead of time. Like, they gave literally like a week's notice or something. This time is different. It's a little different. it kind of caught everybody by surprise. They still gave forewarning, but the forewarning was significantly shorter, right? And I don't know. What is Pat Bev doing over there? I don't know. But if I'm Pat Bev, I'm getting the fuck out. Don't worry. America will give you a flight out. Unlike those in Lebanon. If you're in the crosshairs of Israeli bombing, of course, you don't get a flight out there. But if you're in Israel, don't worry. America will find a way to transport your ass out of there and back into safe territory. You know, Pat Bev is cooked. Anyway, Israel just promised to retaliate. Yeah, I know. They did. They warned. This morning, they warned. Senior Iranian official said the U.S. was alerted by Iran through diplomatic channels shortly before the attacks. But that was not a long-ass forewarning. That's a little different. This is the message Israelis across Jerusalem are receiving right now. Imagine living like this. Dude, are you... Bro, are you serious? Are you serious? Imagine living like this? Yeah, dude. That's how Palestinians live every day. They don't even have the home front command. They just eat it. They don't have bomb shelters. 12 months of genocide, bro. No way. No way. Turns out bombs killed. That's crazy. I'm actually shocked, brother. That's crazy. Anyway, I hope the HasanAbi heads... Listen, I mean, this is the same thing I say to the HasanAbi heads in Lebanon that Israel bombs on a regular basis. I hope you guys are all right. You know, my thoughts are with you. I know you're already stuck in a goddamn genocidal freak-ass state. You know, surrounded by absolute sickos on a regular basis, life as it is for you. And now you have to deal with the genocidal government you don't agree with and its consequences. I hope you guys are all right. You know, be safe. I don't know. It's the exact same thing. It's like, it's what I say to the Palestinians. It's what I say to the Palestinian chatters. What I say to the Lebanese chatters is the same. It's like, what is this guy? This guy said, you still on Iran's, Iraq's side and Hamas side? Brother, are you stupid? Do you not hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? I am anti-genocide, okay? I'm anti-genocide. I'm anti-war. Do you understand that? That's the side I'm on. Holy dude, Jesus Christ. 12 months of genocide from the apartheid state. And this was like, are you still on Iraq? What is Iraq doing? Like, what? Is Iraq involved in any way? Just drop that in there, bro. He just dropped Iraq in the conversation, demonstrating his position is just like, so what's up? Are you with the, you know, are you with the sand people or what? Like, who are you with? Are you with the civilization or the sand people? Whose side are you on? It's crazy because it's like both in the axis of evil. No, bro, what the is Iraq doing, dog? Iraq? What do you mean? It's like led by an American puppet state. Are you crazy? What the fuck has Iraq done? I'm gonna say Iraq, bro. Sorry to the Iraqi HasanAbi heads, bro. You're going to have to get invaded again, it seems. Okay? I'm letting you know, man. It seems like Americans usually have this appetite, you know? Americans just have an unfortunate appetite for death and destruction when stuff like this happens. Here, let's hear what they have to say now. A lot of decisions to be made right now by Israeli government officials. We have much more ahead. Our special coverage of the Iranian attack on Israel continues. She put her entire career at stake. Okay, dude. Jesus Christ. As soon as I tune in, they're like, yeah, ad break.
Still in occupation. When Israel controls the land borders and controls pretty much every aspect of life in Gaza, this is still considered under international law an occupation. Like, this has been adjudicated in the world's top court, and Israel lost that one. Gaza is an occupation.
Yeah. Is true.
Okay, you said that, and the court said that. We're still facing Hamas in Gaza, which its charter, by the way, like the charter of Hezbollah.
Bro, this dude is, bro, go to the bomb shelter, dog. Go to the bomb shelter. What do you mean, Hezbollah and Hamas? Bro, you are unserious. You are not a serious person, dude. Holy, this is like, I don't give a, they could kill me right now, and I'm still going to tell you the talking points, okay?
Can I ask you about regional
He's conflict? Like, yo, remember the 1988 charter of Hamas?
Iran in a direct war. And do you think that he's trying to precipitate regime change in Iran based on his comments yesterday, ostensibly addressed to Iranians? Let me see if I can find the exact quote. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think.
Among the targets were Israeli airfields, but also the headquarters of Mossad, the
Oh, sorry.
First
That was,
of
I
all,
was like,
like
where the fuck's that?
Akiva, I'm not a big fan of Netanyahu. So,
Oh, yeah, he hates Netanyahu, but he
I
also
think, yes,
obviously...
he wants somehow to get that Iran doesn't become nuclear power, and he knows that he needs America for this. So, yes, he has something in the back of his mind that if this is an opportunity to involve America, he would push for it. As for regime change, I don't think Israelis should be involved in any speculations and ideas. We tried it in Lebanon back in 1982, and we failed. And I think Israel should talk about the regime change in Israel itself, not elsewhere.
Uri Dromi, founding director general of Jerusalem Press Club, retired colonel in the Israeli Air Force. Thank you very much for joining us on Al Jazeera.
Oh, Israel gave the all clear about an hour ago. The attacks are over. Oh, I thought they were still blowing. I thought they were still going in. I just saw a live connection to Tel Aviv. They're already back to normal. It's crazy. So we don't have a final assessment. I didn't realize. I thought it was still going on. We don't have a. I don't have a final assessment of what's happening. No, this is live. Al Jazeera is live right now. It's just that the attacks are from earlier. They're just showing. They're just showing the wave of attacks from earlier. Okay. You think the recent escalation with Lebanon now and now Iran was Bibi coaxing attacks to boost his approval? Benjamin Netanyahu has wanted a war with Iran for most of his life. Okay. This is the reason why he was heavily against the Iran denuclearization agreement, because he was terrified of the prospect of normalizing relationship with Iran. That's why he kept mercilessly and relentlessly attacking the Obama administration for its signature accomplishment on that front. That's part of the reason why he loved Donald Trump. IDF has announced, as far as I understand, they've announced that they're like going to retaliate. But the thing is, here's the issue, okay? They already have been. Yesterday, they bombed Damascus and Lebanon. Like, they already have been nonstop attacking. The only difference in this circumstance is they'll probably attack Iran. And I don't know if they'll actually attack Iran with even more weapons than prior. And I don't know what that looks like. This is unique territory overall. This is new territory overall. It's not unique in the sense that, like, Israelis have been literally begging to nuke Tehran for quite a while, okay? But Israel already bombed Yemen yesterday. They bombed Damascus. They bombed Lebanon. They've been bombing Lebanon. The only difference is now they'll bomb Iran again. HasanAbi people on Reddit are saying Iran just started this war. History yet again reset today. Yeah, word I got is that this will be like the April attacks. Israel will retaliate by attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon, not Iran. And Iran will use it to posture to the Arab world that they can do something, but not expected anything else to happen like April. We'll see. But the difference in this circumstance of the Iranian retaliation was the lack of prior knowledge of the retaliation. Like they only revealed that they were going to retaliate. They only revealed that they were going to retaliate right before they actually launched their missiles. Last time they gave like 7 days of warning. They telegraphed it. They were like, hey, we're going to come. We're going to retaliate. We're going to retaliate. If Israel doesn't do something about it, we're going to retaliate. We have a right to defend our sovereignty. This time it was relatively quick. BM is posting throughout the Middle East. What a bunch of psychos. The IDF after the Iranian attack. The Air Force will attack strongly tonight throughout the Middle East. We'll see. Al Jazeera correspondent in Tehran is saying there will be another wave of attacks. It is pretty crazy that all of this was absolutely telegraphed, okay? All of this stuff was telegraphed from the jump. It was telegraphed from the jump. It's not like we didn't know this was going to happen. Of course we knew this was going to happen. What the f was anybody expecting? And for the record, what Israel will do, I suspect, when they say they're going to retaliate, is probably kill a bunch of Gazan civilians, okay? As they have been. They haven't really stopped. They killed like 34 the other day. It's just that the attention has shifted over to the Lebanese civilians that they're killing by the hundreds, right, in Beirut. So that's probably what they're going to do. They're going to pummel civilians. They're going to punish civilians as hard as they possibly can, because they only have one speed. They only know to do one thing, and that's kill civilians. And that's precisely what they're going to do. I just don't think that, I don't know. Will this inevitably cause Israel to implode on itself? I mean, all of these things all of these things actually it hurt the psyche of the Israeli citizens, because Israel only responds to violence. Okay. Israel only backs away when they are forced to back away through violent retaliation. I think there was a terror attack as well. Like there was I think like a shooting attack inside of Israel as well. And I don't know if it was in coordination. It probably was in coordination with the bombings, but ultimately what's going to happen is because Israel only responds to force with more escalation, but only backs away when they fear that there are real repercussions for Israel. Okay. That's what they've educated the entire region on. So that's why these things are happening. Inevitably, they can only get away with this. They can only get away with like further and further escalating when they have this security, when they have the Iron Dome, when they have the confidence that like the regional actors, no matter how they retaliate, Israel will be able to protect its citizens. It will be able to protect its civilians, right? When that security veneer, when that mentality goes away, when normal Israeli society starts fearing that there is retaliation for all of the dangerous escalations, the calculation changes dramatically. Because remember, Israel is within the sphere of Western influence. It is like a Western country in the Middle East. So people go to work, people have marketing jobs. Okay, I think it was 2 people from Jaffa, 6 dead, mostly civilians, and a few others wounded. Thank you, Time Without an Ovo. I'm glad you're safe. So when, you know, you got DJs, oh, sorry, from Hebron, but the attack was in Haifa. Projectiles were intercepted over Jerusalem Tuesday evening as Iran said it fired dozens of missiles into Israel's retaliation for killings of leaders of Hezbollah and Hamas. Air raid sirens are sounding across Israel. So do you think an invasion of Iran's airspace is possible and likely retaliation? I don't know. Maybe. Israel is going to see what it really means to be a U.S. proxy state? No, I don't think so. It was in Tel Aviv. Okay, I don't know where the attack was. Hold on. I need to take a breather. In my opinion, you know it's nothing because Israel knew not only it was going to happen, but also the targets which were cleared. Last I saw, only injuries were 3 from the shrapnel and 2 people from running into each other in shelters. Yeah, but you have to remember, Israel will be notoriously private about like what targets actually got hit. I don't think that they will. I do not think that they will be open about if like their military hardware was destroyed. Like they're not going to say that because they do not want any of the regional actors that are aligned against Israel. They do not want any of the regional actors aligned against Israel to score a W in this situation. They do not want, even if there are, like, obviously, if Israeli civilians died, we'll know about it. That they can't hide that. But if the attacks are directed at military targets, as the Iranians claim they were, and they specifically destroyed military hardware, Israel probably will not reveal that information at all. Like, they don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want people to know that Israel is not this like infallible and impossible to penetrate security barrier is actually not impossible to penetrate. Israel's Channel 12, 8 killed in the Jaffa shooting. Israeli police say one of the attackers has also been killed. Yeah, there was a shooting at a train stop in Jaffa. Israel has resulted in multiple casualties. Initial reports indicate several people were wounded, with some in critical condition. According to the Israeli Broadcasting Authority, 4 people have been killed in the attack. Yeah, and I think Daniel Hagari also said that like you know, you shouldn't show any videos of any attacks. Don't show the videos. Very graphic. I'm not going to show the videos. To be honest, I think we could be next. I don't know what part of the world you're in. If you're in Iran, or if you're in Lebanon, or if you are in America, I don't know. Is this also de-escalation by escalation? No, this is retaliation. What do you mean? Oh, in America? Yeah, I mean, maybe, probably not though. I think most of the regional actors are too busy with their own backyard at this moment to focus their crosshairs on the United States of America. Can you please explain how Israel uses human shields? I'm confused on no civilians died if that's the case. Iran's legal rational and legitimate response to the terrorist acts of the Zionist regime, which involved targeting Iranian nationals and interests and infringing upon the national sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran, has been duly carried out. Should the Zionist regime dare to respond or commit further acts of malevolence, a subsequent and crushing response will ensue. Regional states and the Zionist supporters are advised to part ways with the regime. They're doing the same thing that Benjamin Netanyahu said yesterday. They're like, hey, we don't want war with you, the Israeli people, but your government is the reason. BBC and ABC are saying unprovoked attack on Israel. Of course they're saying that, dude. The only attacks that are provoked are dude, Israel gets to listen, you have to understand, Israel gets to attack everybody, and that's always righteous. And if Israel ever gets countered or retaliated upon, it's unprovoked. Please understand.
Hear that Hamas wasn't really on board with this ceasefire, but also sources have told me that there were moments where Netanyahu also changed the parameters of what he wanted there. And I think the really big challenge has been, as one Middle East source told me, you as the negotiating party cannot want this ceasefire more than the parties on the ground involved. And that's where I think the struggle has been for Biden. This White House has wanted an end to the conflict, but it's not clear that the parties involved wanted it as much as Biden.
Asma, thank you. Jay O'Brien's at the White House for us today. So I guess two questions for you, Jay, as we're getting a number of leaders from the Hill weighing in on what's happening overseas. We do know that the president was in the sit room, the vice president right next to him, monitoring what was happening as Iran was launching those missiles. Do we know what exactly he is doing now? And is he also in a wait-and-see mode, waiting to see what Israel is going to do? Or do you think he'll get a heads up from Benjamin Netanyahu as to what may happen next?
Well, a number of different things to unpack in that. Firstly, I can tell you that when the president and the vice president were in the situation room, it was largely White House officials say to coordinate the defensive response. The U.S.
the wider market is down today. Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon
some of these missiles
reaching
and
record
succeeding
highs,
in shooting
baby.
down some of these missiles. Exactly how many the Israelis were able to intercept versus the U.S. and potentially other allies shooting down is very much unclear. But we know that that was what the president and the vice president were monitoring there. The defensive ability by U.S. military assets to shoot down some of these missiles in participation, of course, in defending their Israeli partners. We also know that senior White House officials telegraphed that there would be, quote, severe consequences for Iran if there was a direct strike of this nature at Israel. Exactly what severe consequences look like is still very much unclear. As you said, the White House is somewhat in a wait-and-see pattern. They are obviously in close touch with Israel because they were participating.
Bro, they're about to know why we don't have free healthcare. I know, man. Yeah, you're right.
Will the White House get a heads
totally
up as to any
just
kind
like
of
the Ansar Allah administration in Yemen found out, right?
That is an open question. No one really knows the
That's
answer.
why they're
To me, a good
lobbing
example,
like
when
hypersonic
Israel
missiles
took
into
out the
Tel
leader
Aviv.
of Hezbollah
Still,
in that strike on that building that they
that's
said
an
was
own
a
on you,
Hezbollah
dog.
headquarters.
That is an
The US
own on
officials
you
got
and
an
all
update
of us.
about
You
that
understand
strike
that, right?
while it was in
Like the
motion.
idea that
Learned
like
it
we
was
don't have
on
health care, is that an
while it was in
acceptable
motion.
trade-off?
How
Are
much
you
of a heads up they
insane?
might get to
Why are
Israeli
you openly
retaliation
saying
would
that and you're
is still very
championing it?
much
That
unclear. I can tell you,
originated.
we know that White House
That
officials looked at
originated.
questions like that and others over
That statement originated as a angry thing. Like people used to say that as like, how up is it that we don't have healthcare because we're just like always funding more missiles? That's the joke. Come on, man. It's oldest line. I mean, it depends. Some can't tell a joke. It's got to be a joke. Okay, first of all, you can joke about this. I'm just saying that like a lot of people don't make that as a joke in the sense that a lot of people that say that nowadays are saying that as an own, where they're like, no, dude, it's sick. Like we don't have healthcare. And that's the reason why we get to blow up everybody. Like, and it still doesn't work. You know what I mean? FEMA needs $9 billion, yet we send another $9 billion in shipments to Israel. Yes, dude. Are you anti-Semitic? Are you anti-Semitic, sir? Of course. Excuse me. We need to deploy the National Guard, not to areas that are in desperate need of hurricane assistance but directly to the region so we can defend Israel when Israel inevitably goes to war with every country in the region. So shut the up. Shut your anti-Semitic mouth up. Do you understand? How unacceptable of you to say these sorts of anti-Semitic things.
Lindsey Graham's colleagues, as Lindsey Graham so often is on the issue of Iran, he has gone further than any other Republican or Democrat at this hour.
Do you think zero casualties because Iran showed restraint? It's both. Iran showing restraint and also the dome is effective.
As you said, for the U.S. to support
but it's mostly,
in that operation,
like, they hit targets, brother. Look,
place. What I've seen in statements.
Look, listen. Look at the Iron Dome is for tinier missiles in general. Okay, the Iron Dome is a more comprehensive. Like the anti-ballistic system is called Arrow. Okay, and that when people say Iron Dome colloquially, they mean like all of the Israeli defense structure, not just the Tamir interceptors. Okay, but it's actually Arrow. I think like Arrow 1 through 3. Like David's Sling, I think, is another one. Like there are a bunch of different anti-missile systems that Israel has. It's very comprehensive. It's very large. And beyond that, beyond its capabilities of like intercepting, they also literally have the American the American aircrafts in the region and American anti-missile systems in the region as well. You have regional actors from Jordan. Jordan has defense capabilities as well. You have Saudi defense capabilities if Ansar Allah or Yemen is trying to lob ballistic missiles or any kind of missiles from the direction of the Red Sea. So it's a comprehensive and very expensive structure to keep Israel safe and avoid any sort of like retaliation. Here's Jake Sullivan. Let's take a look at what he has to
interceptors to shoot down inbound missiles. President Biden and Vice President Harris monitored the attack and the response from the White House Situation Room, joined in person and remotely by their national security team. We are still working with the IDF and the authorities in Israel to assess the impact of the attack. But at this time, and I stress at this time, we do not know of any deaths in Israel. We are tracking the reported death of a Palestinian civilian in Jericho in the West Bank. We do not know of any damage to aircraft or strategic military assets in Israel. In short, based on what we know at this point, this attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective. This was first and foremost the result of the professionalism of the IDF, but in no small part because of the skilled work of the U.S. military and meticulous joint planning in anticipation of the attack. We are also aware of reports of a terrorist attack in Jaffa that took the lives of a number of Israeli civilians and wounded several others today. Our condolences go out to the families of the victims and to the family of the Palestinian civilian in Jericho.
He's not lying.
My update here.
Chat, stop immediately saying he's lying.
And we reserve the right to amend and adjust as necessary as we gather more information. The word fog of war was invented for a situation like this. This is a fluid situation. We will consult with the Israelis on next steps in terms of the response and how to deal with what Iran has just done. And we will continue to monitor for further threats and attacks from Iran and its proxies. We are particularly focused on protecting U.S. service members in the region.
The highest tier for these
and with
ballistic
that, I'll
missiles,
take
the
just
Arrow
a few
system 1 through 3
questions.
and David Sling.
Thanks, Jake. Is the administration making any preparations to evacuate U.S. citizens from Lebanon or elsewhere in the region?
We have been very clear for some time now that U.S. citizens should avail themselves of commercial means to depart Lebanon, given everything that's going on. We have said that from this podium, from multiple podiums. We continue to say that, but we have not begun triggering a non-combatant emergency evacuation, a NEO.
You used to be honest when you didn't know things, but your react queen mentality has taken over, especially regarding the Middle East. You've become the Pied Piper for Russian bots and ignorant. You've fallen off, my dude.
The guidance from the State Department, which is to find civilian commercial means to depart.
Once again, I think chatters don't listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth and simply basically respond to what they assume I'm saying.
Israel should retaliate, and what is your concern about this leading to a wider escalation of war in the region?
We've had some initial discussions with the Israelis in the aftermath of this, at the military level and
Hopefully you get
also
better.
at the White House to Prime Minister's office level. We'll continue those conversations in the hours ahead. I'm not going to prejudge or get ahead of anything. We want to have some deep consultations with the Israelis, and I'll have more to report to you after we get the opportunity for deeper discussions.
And escalation in the region?
Obviously, this is
Okay.
a significant escalation by Iran, a significant event. And it is equally significant that we were able to step up with Israel and create a situation in which no one was killed in this attack in Israel, so far as we know at this time. We are now going to look at what the appropriate next steps are to secure, first and
What the fuck
foremost,
does Russia have to
American
do with
interests,
this?
and then to promote stability to the maximum extent possible as we go forward. Yeah.
He said no civilians and no military hardware. What do you mean he's not lying? Nevatim Air Base is destroyed. Oh, sorry. I thought he said no civilians were harmed in this process. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I don't think that assessment is a lie. Listen, Israel cannot keep it a secret if their civilians die in any kind of attack. And also, it would not even be in their interest to keep that a secret. It would give more righteous cause to whatever they're going to do next, okay, in retaliation. But in terms of the military hardware, they will absolutely say, oh, nothing happened. We didn't even get a dent. They won't openly admit that their military hardware was destroyed. So just so you understand, do I believe that there was no military hardware destroyed? I don't necessarily believe that. I think that, you know, if they actually struck targets directly right here, if this footage is correct, and you're going to get like very limited information from Israel on this stuff because like they don't want this kind of information. They do not want this kind of information to be out. Controversial documentation of missile drops. This is from Con News. You don't like Israel does not want direct targets. Okay. Israel does not want video footage of direct targets being hit because it absolutely destroys the air of security that they must maintain. Okay. October 7 was obviously devastating for the Israeli consciousness, Israeli psyche in general, because any kind of reminder that Israel is not impenetrable shakes the collective psyche and causes people to recalculate how Israel operates in the region, causes Israeli society to recalculate how Israel operates in the region. So what ends up happening in this situation, obviously after October 7, it was an enemy that they know how to deal with, right? It's an enemy that they have destroyed time and time again. It's broadly civilians. It's not like as powerful of a force as Iran is, right? So for them, that was like, oh, these are our, you know, ancient enemies at this point. It's great. We can go and siege Gaza and we can mow the lawn in these operations that we've conducted time and time again. So people were screaming bloody murder. In terms of going into Lebanon, the calculation is a little different again, because once again, Hezbollah is a more significant military presence with better weapons. They're more combat trained. They are not stuck inside of an open air prison that Israel has designed for the most part. And Iran this is a mistranslation. It doesn't say controversial. It says Arara, which is a Palestinian town in the north. 99% intercepted. I'm a Bedouin Israeli. We don't have bunkers, so I just sat and watched the missiles fall. Yeah, that's the other part of the process, is that like whenever these sorts of things happen, whenever like any sort of retaliation occurs on Israeli soil, obviously the areas where majority, like the densely populated areas where majority Jewish populations reside are well protected, as opposed to areas, and I've talked about this before in the last Iranian retaliation, like the Bedouin population does not have the same level of safety and coverage. And that's precisely why shrapnel fell on top of a makeshift house that some of the Palestinian citizens of Israel had made for themselves, that ironically the Israeli government actually demolished once again, as they had before. They'll use the Bedouin population to be like, oh, see, like you only got to kill Palestinians, like you don't care about the Palestinians. And they'll use that. They'll only remember the humanity of Palestinian citizens of Israel when it suits their messaging. We saw a similar example of this when Israel said the Al Ahli hospital was actually blown up by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, right? they talked about like all of the Palestinians that died only when it suit their propaganda purpose. All of a sudden, if Palestinians are being killed by Israel, then they're acceptable combat casualties. It's collateral damage. If Palestinians are even suspected to be killed by other Palestinians or the axis of resistance in any capacity, then they're real human beings. And it's really up that like they were killed. In terms of World War III, in terms of like World War III happening, I don't, I mean, I feel like war has changed, and like, it's not the way that you understand it anymore. It's just like, when is war not happening? You know what I mean? It's always happening. Here are more dozens of ballistic missile impacts in Israel from friend of the show, Elent News. IHL Twitter saying Iran's actions are illegal armed reprisals. While they may be true, the political analysis leads one to believe that a response from Iran to Israel was an unavoidable reaction following Israel's repeated escalations. Curious about your thoughts. Wouldn't it have been feasible for Iran to not react without essentially accepting defeat to Israel? No, when people say Iran has no right to retaliate, they're wrong. I mean, Israel assassinated the principal negotiator on the Palestinian side that was responsible for civil governance, okay? Ismail Haniyeh on Iranian soil in direct violation of human rights and in direct violation of Iranian sovereignty. Iran had every right to retaliate to Israel at any point that they chose to do so. It's just that the issue here is that in the way that we analyze it in the Western world, of course, Iran never has a right to retaliate. You can't. You just have to sit there and get pummeled. Yeah, Bedouin unrecognized villages. Time Without an Ovo says, Bedouin unrecognized villages are considered open areas by the Iron Dome, so missiles fired towards them are generally not covered. That's about 120,000 citizens completely unprotected. Yeah. International human rights lawyers are saying Iran's actions are illegal armed reprisals. Only the U.S. and its allies care. That's such a funny response. Yeah, famously, Israel and the United States of America are famous defenders of international humanitarian laws, dude. Famously. For the past 12 months, I was asleep. I just woke up today. This is the first day. Has anything happened that or was that just like an anti-Semitic attack? I guess that's what happened, right? Just like the top of the hour ad break is anti-Semitic in terms of my delivery of it, you know? The IDF says the Israeli Air Force will attack Middle East tonight in a powerful way. Yeah, Anyway, I know I might be fed up false information, but it seems like from the interception of Israel, all of its surrounding countries hates it so bad and attacks it nonstop. So I guess if Israel took Gaza as a part of the country, it would be even worse because they hate Israel. When a nation is at a state like that, wars are kind of inevitable, I think. Dude, from the inception of Israel, surrounding countries hate it so bad. Maybe think about that. Think about it a little bit. Think about it further. Like how Israel became a nation state is exactly why a lot of the other countries in the region think that it is a force of evil in the region. And Israel has given plenty of evidence that, you know, it truly is. Yeah, October 7 and October 1st are the only 2 days on the calendar. I mean, this isn't as big of a considering the fact that you know, the Iranian retaliation was limited to military targets and other areas not often protected by the Iron Dome. I don't think that this is going to be considered in the same vein as like October 7. Pentagon is going live. State Department is saying the quiet part out loud here.
I see a diplomatic.
Oh yeah, this was crazy. This was a crazy admission from Matt Miller. Here.
We've never wanted to see a diplomatic resolution with Hamas.
Well, okay. Well, what about the ceasefire?
We wanted to see a ceasefire, but we have always been committed. We have always been committed to the destruction of Hamas. We did want to see a ceasefire, but we have always made clear that we wanted to see a different authority moving forward.
That's a crazy admission. That's a wild thing. It's not even a slip, by the way. Also, I forgot to run the 3-minute ad break. I'm running it now. Can you explain why they told him they're going to send missiles 12 hours earlier? They always do. That last time they telegraphed it even before. They telegraphed it like 7 days ahead last time they did that. It's like, it's almost like, dude, this is how world powers operate, okay? Like even when Donald Trump dropped the Moab, okay, I think it was in Syria or Afghanistan. We've blown up every goddamn country. When Donald Trump dropped Moab in Afghanistan. Even in that situation, there was also some bombing campaigns that occurred in Syria on positions that were Russian. Okay, they gave what is the word for it? I mean, it's deconfliction, but it's not actually deconfliction in this situation. There's a different term for it. I'm not like, they always give a heads up. They give prior notice before they drop bombs in an effort to make sure that American weapons are not immediately killing like another powerful nation's military. Okay, because accidents do end up happening regardless of the constant back and forth communication among superpowers, even when they're directly at war, or sometimes when they're not at war with one another. Like, heads up is the proper term, buddy. Thank you. Okay. Well, ultimately, everybody communicates with one another before they do these kinds of attacks. The only group that doesn't really communicate ahead of time, or gives like, or doesn't directly target military capabilities, but claims they're directly targeting military capabilities, but is actually targeting like densely populated civilian areas, is Israel. That's just the truth. Okay? Because if any other country operated in the same way that Israel did, considering that our analysis is that Israel is our allies, we know what it looks like when a country operates in the way that Israel does. Russia, you know, that's it. Russia is the perfect example. Russia is the perfect example of what happens when a country that is outside of the scope of American influence and power, that is a regional actor, a regional superpower in its own, in the power that it has, when they operate in a similar capacity to Israel, that is precisely what happens. That is, you know what happens. We don't have to speculate on the American perspective on the matter. We saw exactly what happened. The Biden White House's October surprised its own candidate, a historical first, I think. I don't think it's an October surprise if it's not a surprise at all. You know what I mean? It's an October expectation.
Governance of Gaza. You've never wanted to see a diplomatic.
This feels like 1984 with the way that the wars feel so choreographed and staged. Real but no lasting resolution. Just a war between a few capitals against other capitals. Is that right? I mean, that's how all wars work. But Biden's administration pushed Israel to invade Lebanon despite inhibitions by the Pentagon, according to Politico. I don't think they pushed Israel to invade Lebanon. I think they gave the go-ahead to Israel in invading Lebanon. I saw that. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Have you ever discussed whether you advocate for a two-state or one-state solution? Now's not the time. Something to note is that Hagari just reported IDF soldiers shot on dozens of suspects, which presented a threat in the central Gaza Strip. Injuries were detected. If you want a translation, IDF soldiers most likely massacred a crowd of random civilians. Wait for reports from Gaza. Yeah, I saw some movement on that front. I saw some movement on that front earlier, but I'll wait for further confirmation. But like I said, that is the expected outcome of all of this, is that Israel is one speed. They'll basically go back to punishing people that have no way of defending themselves. That's the one speed they have. Oh yeah, Netanyahu also obviously got a bump because he gave the Israeli population what they wanted, escalations in Lebanon. Chill. But yeah, here, this is U.S. officials quietly backed Israel's military push against Hezbollah. The officials urged caution and stressed the need for diplomacy, but the timing was right for such a military shift, they concluded. Senior White House figures privately told Israel that the U.S. would support its decision to ramp up military pressure against Hezbollah, even as the Biden administration publicly urged the Israeli government in recent weeks to curtail its strikes, according to American and Israeli officials. Presidential advisor Amos Hochstein and Brett McGurk, the White House coordinator for the Middle East, told top Israeli officials in recent weeks that the U.S. agreed with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's broad strategy to shift Israel's military focus to the north against Hezbollah in order to convince the group to engage in diplomatic talks to end the conflict, the officials told Politico. They also said escalation through de-escalation. Not everyone in the administration was on board with Israel's shift, despite support inside the White House, the official said. The decision to focus on Hezbollah sparked division within the U.S. government, drawing opposition from people inside the Pentagon, State Department, and intelligence community who believed Israel's move against the Iran-backed militia could drag American forces yet into another Middle East conflict. Politico spoke to 2 Israeli and 4 U.S. officials for the story, most of whom were granted anonymity to speak freely about sensitive diplomatic talks. The National Security Council declined to comment. Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the UN, declined Monday to comment on private talks between the Israeli leaders and the U.S. officials when asked about Hochstein and others' exchanges. We don't always ask for permission for everything we do, he said, of the two countries, adding, I think what they say publicly reflects the goal that they would like to see a diplomatic solution, which we are not against. According to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, announced the destruction of the Israeli aerosystems radars with Fatah-1 hypersonic missiles, in addition to 3 military bases on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. Always good to remember U.S. Middle East policy is being run by George W. Bush Iraq guy, Brett McGurk, and a former Israeli soldier, Hochstein. Those are the two top Biden aides that were, I guess, quietly saying, no, you have the go-ahead. Which is why I told you that Israel doesn't get to do this stuff without America's knowledge and without America's go-ahead. And sometimes America offers the targets themselves with their surveillance capabilities, okay? So when America says, like, Israel is a sovereign nation, Israel's a sovereign nation, it's operating on its own territorial boundaries, it's operating it's operating on its own interests, is I think an unnuanced position. In mid-September calls and meetings, Israeli officials outlined broadly that their military was preparing to make the shift. They didn't offer details. Hochstein and McGurk relayed to their Israeli counterparts that while they still urged a cautious approach, the timing was likely opportune for such a move, especially after Hezbollah had been significantly degraded in the months prior. Important to note that while Bibi himself got a boost in the poll and Likud lead as the largest party again with 25, Smotrich is polling below the threshold and the coalition stands at 49 mandates. Reporting here got a little screwed because of the presenter of the poll for Channel 12 was Amit Segal, who's basically a Bibi spokesperson. While Hezbollah had long said it would only engage with Israel if it reaches a ceasefire with Hamas militants it is battling in Gaza, U.S. assessments indicated at that point that Hamas wasn't likely to agree to a ceasefire deal anytime soon, and that it meant it could be a moment to focus more on Hezbollah alone and to decouple the two conflicts. So whenever people tell you, like, whenever people bring up, like, Hassan Nasrallah's background, Hezbollah's actions in Syria, or Hezbollah's actions in his domestic affairs, right? Inside of Lebanon, understand that it has nothing to do with his assassination. His assassination happened in the hands of the Israeli military in coordination with the American government, specifically because he and the Hezbollah forces presented a deterrence and a threat to Israel's interest in conducting its genocide in Gaza. That is precisely what happened, okay? It was a big boost for Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet in general, Benjamin Netanyahu's personal polling in the nation to change trajectory. It silenced any kind of internal opposition on a ceasefire negotiation. He offered basically like a slab of meat to the Israeli population by bombing Beirut. Okay. Are you scared? I'm not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what scared means at this point. These things are completely outside of our control. There's not really anything we can do. All we can do is just stand by and watch and try to make sense of all the senseless bloodshed. But once again, in terms of when we look at the situation that is in front of us, remember that, like, the conversation completely took a reset when Israel started bombing Beirut. All of a sudden, the very same people that were calling me HamasAbi are now calling me Hezbollahabi, okay? That I am once again a terrorism supporter and an Islamist fundamentalist, but now for a different group, okay? And that's obviously a hyper personal and very specific way to analyze the situation, but you could see similarities with, like, broad mainstream reception of Israel's actions in the Western world, where immediately they started running the exact same contextualization of the violence. These are Hezbollah targets that were blown up. No mention, or rarely any mention, of the 300 or now 800 plus Lebanese people that were slaughtered mercilessly in their own apartment buildings in a densely populated area. No mention of the millions of Lebanese people that had to be displaced as Israel now is invading another sovereign nation. Okay, why are you making these conflicts about you? I am using that as a jump off point. It is not to make it about me. And I literally described how I'm not making it about myself at all. I'm using that as a way to communicate to an audience that comes in here and here's what I have to say about these issues so that it's easily understandable. Okay. I'm trying to make it more palatable for people. Okay. Unless you are completely brain dead, I think you can understand that. Yeah. A rhetorical device is what I'm doing, is what I'm using here. Okay. And it worked. I mean, it was relatively successful, all things considered. Here's the press briefing by the White House, by the way.
Is there are multiple events happening all at once, and the president is going to continue certainly to deal with.
Okay, let's hear what Pentagon is saying.
Essentially, a follow-up to that question: is the U.S. willing to strike Iran in response to this? Are you putting that on or off the table?
Well, look, Garnett, again, I don't want to get into hypotheticals. I think I was very clear at the top that should U.S. forces be targeted by Iran or its proxies, we'll take necessary steps to defend our people. And I think we've also been very clear that we're going to support the defense of Israel. And so I'm not going to get into theoretical or speculative operations at this stage, other than to say, you know, we mean what we say and we say what we mean.
And then a follow-up question. Iran claims to have used a new Fatah missile, which is supposed to be a hypersonic ballistic missile. Can you assess whether they did use new and advanced weaponry in this attack and whether they learned from the April attack?
Again, we're still assessing the attack and the outcomes, and so, you know, we may have more to provide later, but I don't have anything on that right now. Dan.
Thanks for your time. Two questions, please. On Secretary Austin's statement last night, he referred to being supportive of operations along the border. Is he open to Israel using operations on both sides of the border? Along the border was a little vague there.
Well, I think I'd go back to how I responded to Joseph, right? We understand and support Israel's right to defend itself against Hezbollah, as we highlighted in the readout. We understand that part of that is dismantling some of the attack infrastructure that Hezbollah has built along the border. Certainly, again, we don't want to see this, you know, broaden into a wider regional conflict, but we understand, again, that what Israel is doing are limited operations to destroy that attack infrastructure and then enable citizens on both sides of the border to return home. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we do think that a diplomatic resolution is the only way to achieve lasting stability and security across the Israel-Lebanon border. So, you know, we're going to continue to work to that end. But we also, again, understand Israel's need to defend itself.
And then a follow. The State Department read out a report on an attack on diplomatic facility at Baghdad Airport last night. Have you seen any other attacks on U.S. forces, I guess, since Friday? This one would seem to be on a diplomatic facility, but be it in the last day, particularly at this heightened time of tension, or just broadly over the last couple of days?
Yeah, as of right now, I'm not aware of any additional attacks. Thanks. Sir.
The Iron Dome, how effective is it against ballistic missiles? And some of the televised images appeared to show some of them landing on infrastructure. Are you aware of that? In general, was this attack more effective than the Iranian attack in April?
Again, understanding that a lot is still you know, very initial. As I highlighted, initial indications are that there was minimal damage on the ground. You know, in terms of the specifics, though, I'd have to refer you to Israel really to talk through that. And again, as more information comes in, we'll certainly know more. But the initial assessment is that Israel was able to successfly defend itself, of course, with the support from the U.S. And so, again, we may have more later on that. Helene?
Thanks, Pat. I just want to be clear, because it seems like we're at a very dangerous time where any kind of ambiguity from the U.S. could lead to an attack on American troops. And when you say I understand when you say that we're going to defend any attack at American troops. I also understand that that you said that no American troops were hurt. Therefore, are you saying the U.S. is not planning on a kinetic strike against Iran? Because right now,
we'll stress again that the Hamas-Hezbollah partnership only started after the second Rabin administration kidnapped and deported hundreds of Hamas activists, Ismail Haniyeh among them, across the Lebanese border in 1994. We'll also remind people that in 1992, Israel assassinated Hezbollah General Secretary Abbas Mousawi, replaced by Nasrallah shortly after. God, it seems like maybe this more force thing is not the solution to literally everything. Yeah, one thing I want to also point out is that this is like didn't get a lot of coverage, but like Israel obviously doesn't just assassinate like the Islamist fundamentalists leading the helm in the resistance groups. Okay, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, these are not good guys, Hasan," and it's like, yeah, you want to know why? Because Israel killed all the good guys that weren't even fighting against Israel, like Ghassan Kanafini, who is not even a person that held a weapon at any point. And him and his entire family were ruthlessly slaughtered by Israel. Israel also literally assassinated on the 29th of September multiple PFLP and DFLP commanders that were not participating in the strikes on northern Israel at all. They were assassinated because they were Palestinian leaders living in Lebanon. And it didn't even get any coverage. So when people go, oh my God, why aren't there any like secular Marxist leaders or whatever? It's because Israel kills them all the time. Okay, the only ones who end up surviving this kind of happen to be some of the biggest fundamentalists.
Where does Iran stand now?
You don't get to choose who gets to resist against Israel's incredibly violent, increasingly bloodthirsty actions.
I mean, that's really
it's just Israel is setting the standard
for Iran. You know, as evidenced by this attack, you know, they certainly maintain the capability to conduct
Holy
attacks.
Taupe from Hasan.
As I highlighted at the top.
If your understanding of complex geopolitical things that are happening in real time and all the death and destruction that is accompanying that in real time is just cope of a Twitch streamer or something, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Just open up your eyes to the reality, you know?
Have to be prepared in that eventuality.
I just want to
it's
clarify,
weird.
I think you said earlier this is twice the size.
It's a very weird way to look at and interpret events.
Yeah, it's about twice as large in terms of the number of ballistic missiles that they launched from the last.
Do you believe it was their intent to actually do damage this time?
Well, you know, look, you don't launch that many missiles at a target without the intent of hitting something. So absolutely, just like the last time, their intent is to cause destruction. And so, fortunately, you know, Israel has very significant air defense capabilities, and the U.S., of course, played a role in helping on that front as well. Thank you. Matt?
Thanks, Pat. You said there have been no new attacks on U.S. forces in the region, but is the department tracking a greater threat now to U.S. forces, and are you taking any extra measures on top of the recent plus-ups you've done for force protection?
Well, Matt, I mean, as you know, we're always taking force protection very seriously. We're all very well aware of the heightened tensions in the region, and U.S. Central Command has been, for a long time now, you know, constantly assessing and reassessing the threat to ensure that our forces are protected. Like I mentioned, I'm not aware, as I come to the podium, I'm not aware of any additional attacks beyond the one that that Dan mentioned, but it's something that we'll obviously be, you know, keeping a close eye on to protect our forces.
Secondly, were there any other nations other than the United States and Israel who took part in intercepting missiles or helping to track them or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't have anything to provide on that, and obviously I wouldn't speak for other countries from here. Yes, sir.
Moin Rabbani, Trita Parsi, Finkelstein, and other regional experts have said that Israel is bent on war with Iran during this election cycle and Biden's lame duck period. I expect they'll take this opportunity to bring that to fruition. Yes. Part of the reason I think that Iran has been insanely restrained, and this is not just my estimation. I know people will say like, oh, Hasan, you're biased in the matter or whatever. This is the estimation of like the American State Department as well, in terms of its like Iranian retaliation to Israel violating its sovereignty on a regular fucking basis as well. I'll say this much. I think it's partially because they did not want to hand Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel the thing that they want the most, which is basically, sorry, I'm all over the place today. A lot is going on. Which is basically a war with Iran, okay? If Iran strikes civilian targets and does like October 7 level damage with hypersonic missiles that obviously are capable of penetrating Arrow 1 through 3, David Sling, and the entirety of Israel's anti-missile defense systems, like if they are able to target a military facility, they're able to hit Tel Aviv. You understand that, right? Like, please understand this. If they are able to hit directly Israeli military facilities that are near Tel Aviv, that means they can hit Tel Aviv. That means they can kill civilians in the same way that Israel does on a regular fucking basis. Okay? Recognize this reality, please. There is a reason why they're not doing that and targeting military facilities and impacting military facilities instead. Okay? The reason is because they are still worried about if they kill a bunch of Israeli civilians, then the big war, the thing that they're worried with American military joining the conflict and greatly escalating it into a regional, full-blown regional war with Iran will occur. I think that is partially what Israel wants to do. That is partially what Israel wants to do, basically. I think that's what they've been gearing towards for years and years. What is this? Khrushchev didn't want to reveal the nukes in Cuba till after the election because he didn't want the Republicans in because they were more anti-communist. With Michigan having 3x the Lebanese population of Palestinians, is this going to be a cherry on top to losing Michigan? I don't know. It depends. I wouldn't. The Lebanese situation with respect to Hezbollah is more complicated than you think. I mean, I think there's plenty of Lebanese people who are going to be upset that America is allowing Israel to pummel Beirut, but it depends on what the demographic makeup looks like. If they are, if it's the Christian Lebanese population, they might not. They might actually cherish this attack. You know what I mean? They might actually think that this was good because, once again, they also are not exactly fond of Hezbollah. But the internal Michigan polls look really bad. My understanding is that Michigan was literally mourning of Nasrallah. It's the biggest Shia population in America. Scoop, Slock and warned donors last week that internal polling for her Senate campaign shows Vice President Kamala Harris is underwater in Michigan, according to a video clip. I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan, she said. Yeah, the Phoenicians. But the King Phoenician spoke on this recently, and he had, it was shocking to hear from, what's his name, Nassim Talib. He was very upset with Israel, and he's Mr. I'm Phoenician. I'm not Arab. So, you know, Michigan's Lebanese population is larger than its Arab population in general. I mean, yeah, Nicholas Nassim Talib. I think, I mean, the way I see it is like a lot of the Christian Lebanese population living outside of Lebanon see their family villages, you know, their Christian homes of their Christian family members also being bombed in the same way, with no distinction between like Shia or Christian or Sunni Muslim Lebanese populations, and recognize that Israel is still in the wrong for doing this, and recognize that America is allowing Israel to do all of this. So I suspect that they're probably not too fond of it. It's like Capri Sun Poppy's dad comes to mind, you know? The Chief of Staff, Major General Herzi Halevi, at the end of the situation assessment, we've proved our ability to prevent the enemy from achieving by combining exemplary civil behavior with a very strong air defense system. We will choose when to collect the price and prove our precise and surprising attack capabilities in accordance with the guidance of the political echelon.
So it's less about the platform and it's more about the capability. Again, we still maintain a robust capability to be able to respond to any potential future threats as well.
And I just want to follow up on what Helene was asking, which was important in the sense, I think you said a red line that if Iran or its forces were to attack U.S. troops,
you know nothing about
there would
Arab
be a U.S. response.
I refer my commentary to my Arab Christian friend instead, okay? I don't know. Dave Ashraf, he's saying they are bombing the Christian areas right now in Lebanon. It's flipping people. My far-right cousins are now saying Israel.
Keep an eye on. We certainly hope that there's not another attack, but obviously Iran maintains a capability, and it's just demonstrated that they're willing to use it to directly attack Israel. And so we're going to continue to consult closely with Israel on next steps, and importantly on the defense of Israel. So,
on the Israel's limited incursion, have they provided any?
I just personally think that like it doesn't really matter what your creed or your ethnic background or your religion is. When someone is blowing your house up, you're probably going to hate that person, okay, regardless. You know what I mean? That's it. That's what I think. I may be controversial, I don't know, but like usually when someone is blowing your house up, you're going to be like, hey, I no longer feel like my hatred for this other political group that I have warred against in the past
in the afternoon
is
in
warranted
Washington. We've
in
been hearing in the
comparison
past
to the
hour
big bad that is blowing my house up currently.
From the U.S., we were hearing there from the Pentagon. We've also
that's
been
what
hearing
happens.
from the State Department and the White House as well. Pat Ryder there, the spokesman of the Pentagon, was giving in some details of the U.S.'s awareness, preparedness and involvement in fending off the Iranian attack, which happened just around 3 hours ago now, a launch of some 300 missiles
Eastern
from
time
Iran.
today. Iran launched nearly 200.
State Department, it seems like they don't like it. I'm shocked to hear from Matt Miller about a bombing campaign. Turns out there is a bombing campaign that he doesn't like. I didn't realize that that was the case, because for the past 12 months, he's just been defending all the bombing campaigns in general, so it's shocking.
Ballistic missiles against a number of targets in Israel. The United States once again came to Israel's defense against these attacks, just as we participated in Israel's defense when Iran launched its April 13th attack. Our initial assessment is that Israel, with direct assistance from the United States and its partners, was able to successfully defeat this attack. This was a brazen, unacceptable attack by Iran, and every nation in the world must join us in condemning it. Secretary Blinken joined President Biden, Vice President Harris, and other members of the President's national security team in monitoring this attack as it was unfolding, as well as our response. As the President has made clear, our support for Israel's security is ironclad.
I mean, where was this kind of smoke when Israel blew up Beirut, dude? With American weapons, mind you. I never saw that. Like that happened literally like 6 days ago, 7 days ago. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Those were civilian buildings that they took down, you know, 6 of them. That's wild.
We will continue to stand with the people of Israel at this critical moment. With that, starting around 12:30 Eastern time today, Iran launched nearly 200 ballistic missiles against a number of targets in Israel. The United States once again came to Israel's defense against these attacks, just as we participated in Israel's defense when Iran launched its April 13th.
Is anything about what is anything Israel has done in the last few weeks escalatory?
But does the administration see anything that Israel has done over the course of the last?
God, the audio is so bad.
So certainly they have done things to expand the conflict. But if you look at the actions that they have taken, they were bringing terrorists to justice. Terrorists who have.
Oh, dude, goddamn! I didn't realize Israel was bringing terrorists to justice. Thank God for all the terrorist children that they killed in Beirut. You know, all of those terrorist kids. Thank God that they're bringing terrorists to justice. Oh, okay.
Have launched attacks on Israeli civilians. If you look at what Iran did today, we've been warning for some time about the threat posed by Iran arming and funding terrorist groups across the Middle East. And the attack today just demonstrated the danger of those actions. What you saw was Iran launching a state-on-state attack to protect and defend the terrorist groups that it has built, nurtured, and that it controls. So there is a difference between the actions that we have seen Israel take to defend its civilians and what we see. And what we've seen is from Iran take.
They are equivalent. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't see.
No, we have certainly seen we've certainly seen Israel expand the nature of its attacks.
Yeah, it's not an escalation; it's an expansion. You know what's even funnier? America's trained Lebanese and even armed them. I know people trained in America to fight terrorists. Yeah. I don't think those guys are in Hezbollah, though. I think that that's a part of the Lebanese armed forces that retreated beyond the UN line before Israel invaded Lebanon. The irony, of course, is that like it's not equivalent because once again, it's not equivalent at all. You want to know why it's not equivalent? Because Israel gets to kill as many civilians as it wants. Okay, there is an endless appetite for that kind of destruction. Okay, Israel can invade whatever country it wants. Israel can take down as many civilian buildings in a densely populated area. Okay, America will always defend it as you are watching them defend it. Okay, so of course, any kind of retaliation that comes back to Israel has to be very calculated and very careful. And even then, it will be met with An incredible escalation
against Hezbollah, but is a very different type of attack than what we saw today from a state actor against another state.
Anyway, pretty sure we were hoping they'd be able to secure the full coastline much sooner than this. They didn't want to have to defend this for a year. I mean, the interesting part about this is that the alternative solution is one that like the overwhelming majority of Americans want. It's the UN Security Council's, it's the UN General Assembly's wishes. Like, it's literally the simplest solution, which is to do a ceasefire in Gaza, to stop doing a genocide in Gaza. It is literally that simple. Ansar Allah has said that they would end the blockade in the Red Sea. Hezbollah, since October 8, has said that they would no longer be bombing. They would no longer be bombing northern Israel if Israel stopped pummeling Gaza. Like, everyone has said that. And it's crazy because so did the American government. The American government has claimed that they want this to happen. The ceasefire, I mean. Yeah, this is also here. We found, yeah, I mean, this is from the Times of Israel. We later found out that Hamas had offered on October 9 or 10 to release all the civilian hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the government rejected the offer. This is Israel's like George W. Bush, we won't negotiate with terrorists moment. You know, sorry, events were set in motion. We have an appetite for death and destruction. Of course, I reported on it at the time. It doesn't really matter. And they're going to do what they're going to do. You know, there's nothing you can do about it.
Not to drag the entire region into a full-fledged all-out war scenario. And the second statement considers this attack 90% successful. This is what we see in the statement. They say 90% of the missiles have hit their targets in an operation that they call True Promise 2, and the True Promise 1 refers to the operation that they did in April in response to another round of hostile behaviors by the Israelis. And also, we see in this statement about some details on the nature of this and the weapons used in this attack, which is basically a Fatah hypersonic let's say, missile that has been used in this attack. It is used for the first time. It was revealed last year by IRGC, and now they're just having a real test fire of that. And they are putting emphasis that they used it to sort of strike 3 air bases of the Israelis in which they kept F-35 and F-15 fighters. These fighters were, according to Iranian reports, used to conduct the attack, the latest attack in which...
Bro, I don't know why Israel... I'm going to be honest with you. I've noticed that you had less Hasbara boss chirping in the chat. Are they on leave right now? Yeah, maybe one of the headquarters blew up or something, so they don't have the bots. You draw Arab Christians in a bad light. There's no beef between Muslims and Christians when it comes to their country or neighbors. Wait, what? No, dude, no. I'm talking to Americans, chatter. Come on. Americans have no way of understanding that, like, people are not monolithic in the region, okay? I'm just saying that there are going to be people who... I'm saying that there are going to be people that don't like... or if you hear from a Lebanese person that's like, no, I actually do appreciate Israel blowing up Lebanon, I'm telling them that, like, there is a likelihood that they are, you know, potentially... a Christian Lebanese person with of a different mindset, even though that mindset is now becoming the minority, especially when they have family members that are still in Lebanon whose family homes are being bombed. So,
destroyers. Now, the Wasp Marine Amphibious Group is in the eastern Mediterranean. It has units of highly trained Marines and landing ships that can be used as mobile command centres and as well for evacuation. 3 expeditionary wings as well, containing bombers, stealth fighters and fighter jets, are based here in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait. We've also got the US Fifth Fleet based in Bahrain, and that operates in the Gulf. Now, its missile cruisers and destroyers are able to shoot down missiles. Let's bring in our defence editor, Alex Gotopoulos. He joins us now. And indeed, we did just hear from the Pentagon saying that 2 Navy destroyers of the US shot down some of these latest ballistic missiles that were sent from Iran.
Yes, that's right. They said they launched 12 interceptors towards the missiles. How many of them intercepted those missiles, we don't know. But even if all 12 of them destroyed Iranian missiles, there was still have left.
It seems to me like hypersonic missiles have been a real game changer in the way that conflicts occur around the world, by the way.
So
it seems to me like the defense capabilities are nowhere near matched with the offensive capabilities when hypersonic missiles are in play.
Combat proven. It has vast amounts of money poured into it, both from Israel and from the United States. But it's proven technology. It's only just come into existence in the last few years. It's very tricky. It's like
I need to remind people, okay? I need to remind people of something. If they have the capability of striking targets inside of Tel Aviv, inside of the entirety of the Israeli defense capabilities, that means they have the capabilities of targeting, you know, blocks of crowded residential buildings.
Actually is being fired, because again we heard from the Pentagon that
the reason why they are not doing that matters. Okay, you must understand why they are not doing that.
Ballistic missiles that were involved. There weren't any drones this time.
Okay,
so
look.
Tell us what a ballistic missile.
Like this is literally in the outskirts, the northern outskirts of Tel Aviv. This is Eric Toller of the New York Times. An Iranian missile exploded near the Mossad headquarters located on the northern outskirts of Tel Aviv. Rough map of the video's perspective and approximate site of explosion. They are still refusing to hit direct, like crowded civilian areas and keeping their strikes to military targets. Okay? Israel has significantly better targeting capabilities than Iran does, because Israel flies their planes and drops bombs directly on targets. Israel is blowing up areas where there are no anti-air defense systems, okay? Iranians are not using F-15 fighter jets and flying directly over Israeli airspace and targeting these areas in the same way. And even then, despite the limitations of their targeting capabilities, they're still showcasing their ability to penetrate the Iron Dome. They're showcasing their ability to cut through Israeli air defenses. This is significant. That is the message here.
Small-scale rockets. It's at that lower level, which is, small-scale rockets, Katyushas, these sorts of things that are fired at barrages. Then you have the next layer that will deal with more medium-range missiles, and that's the Barak 8, which is the Israeli version of the Patriot, actually supposedly better than the Patriot system, and then major stuff coming over from Iran in this case. So I would have thought a lot of Arrow 3 missiles and Barak 8 missiles would have been fired to intercept this. This would have been these top two tiers of Israel's multi-layered air defense systems that would have gone into action.
Fascinating stuff. Very good to get your analysis and your insights there on the actual military capability of Israel, which is huge, especially when coupled with the US's in the region. Many thanks, Alex. Well, there have been scenes of celebrations across Gaza and indeed in other places across the Middle East in response to the Iranian missiles fired at Israel. People in Gaza came out onto the streets as the missiles were seen flying overhead, going into Israel. Tarek Abu Azoum is in Deir al-Balah for us in central Gaza. He's joining us now on the phone. Tarek, talk us through the atmosphere there in Deir al-Balah.
Why would Iran show restraint when Israel is escalating? Well, Israel didn't. Like, Israel also had a relatively restrained approach after the first Iranian retaliation. So that's probably their expectation.
Repeated provocative attacks on Lebanon and Iran, including the latest assassination of Hamas's top leader, Ismail Haniyeh, and the assassination of Hezbollah's top leader, Hasan Nasrallah. So people of Gaza generally saw the Iranian ballistic missiles from these separate areas in the Strip flying over Gaza, heading to the Israeli...
Well, I can't believe the civilian children that have been blown to bits for the past 12 months were celebrating the occupation incurring any penalty whatsoever. That's shocking to me.
That will have grave
How uncivilized of them.
on Israel. And I need to point out that following the Iranian retaliation, Israeli fighter jets
How dare they?
in Gaza were mobilized and
They got
in a
nothing.
very low altitude and slow over the sky of the Gaza Strip as a part of a preparation against any possible military move might be taken by Hamas or any Palestinian armed groups in the Gaza Strip. They attacked, in fact, in the past couple of hours, anyone who's moving close to Netzarim corridor, and there was more growing state of alert from the Israeli occupation.
It's because they're. I think they're celebrating because they're anti-Semitic and they hate the most moral army and the most moral, the only democracy in the world. Honestly,
but people generally understand that this Iranian
that's what it is. I think.
Trigger more huge Israeli response to that attack, which can really give a clear sign that the entire region is on a knife edge that can lead to a very all-out war in the entire area here.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that Israel has been carrying out intimidating actions over Gaza.
Don't the civilian population of Gaza know that Israel is carrying out its genocide in the most moral ways possible? I'm shocked, horrified at the display.
Attacks are going on, airstrikes are going on Gaza on a daily basis. The casualty numbers are huge there. 41,600 people killed in a year of fighting. I suppose with the war now broadening out into Lebanon, with it potentially broadening even further, as you say, into a regional event, do the people of...
This is wild. Palestinians in Ramallah are posing for selfies on an Iranian missile. That's crazy. They got nothing else going on, you know?
Now, Israel is so keen to transfer the center of gravity